it's so funny. Um, in the hospital, y'all know how it is. How much do you think a bottle of water costs in the hospital?
Too much?
It's a number.
$3.
$3, right? And we went to some ball games, some of Carter's ball games we go to, and it's like I'm giddy if you go over there, and it's mostly like more country ball field, and they're like $1, and you're like, dude, that's they're not making any money. They probably were donated waters, but they'll be like $1, But then you go to a hospital and they're $4 or $5, probably right, You can go to an airport and they're how much?
$6.
Right? What about if you get it on the plane? Oh no, it's like $9. Yeah, it's like $9. But it's amazing because it's still that same bottle, right? It's still the same size, content's still the same, but yet the price changed, And I say that because the content didn't change, but its worth did. And I say that because a lot of times your worth is gauged by your surroundings. I share that because being a part of Fight Club or being a part of a community of believers, your worth is higher. Because you may be in a situation, or you may be around people, or you may be influenced by your job, or you may be influenced by your friendships or whatever, and you have a low self-worth, but yet you know you're worth more. And sometimes our worth is gauged by our surroundings, if that makes sense to you. And I challenge you to that because, like in Fight Club, it gives you an opportunity to showcase your worth. The great thing about being in a community of men, a brotherhood of men that are intentional, authentic about their growth with Christ, is that I don't have to change my conversation to talk to Cody. I don't have to change my conversation to talk to Bruce, Brian or Jason, whoever. Like our conversations are pretty fluid. It's amazing. When I get around people that don't see my worth, because my worth is in Christ, they don't see the value in me. So there's not a lot of good conversation. It's awkward. It's very short-ended, short sentences. Y'all been in those places. And some are like, I could have talked to them forever. Probably so, because there's a good chance they're a believer. There's a good chance that they have the same heart as you. That's where I've always struggled with men, is because I'm not going to sit there and talk about a lot of things that some men want to talk about. Could I? Yeah. But that's not who I am, right? When we stop, I put on here how to have a great year. I would like to think about too, like your worth of what you are. My challenge has always been, I've always said this, and I've started speaking into my children, is, especially my girls, is you are worth so much. I've said it to them. I was like, you do not know how much you're worth. Because I know that majority of the places that they are at, they are getting told that they are not worth, that they are less than. If they're younger, the relationships, or if they're girls, it's like, it's one click to the next. It changes by the day. I'm so glad we're past all that. Oh my gosh. Right? But they deal with self-worth as well. When we go into this next year, like we're going into 2025, we're here, we've arrived. I want us to be able to evaluate, what do you think your worth is? What do you think you're capable of? And in your mindset, it may be, well, I don't know the Bible enough, or I don't know this, or I don't know that. Like, God doesn't want us to limit what He's capable of doing in us. Right? If you knew everything and could do everything, you wouldn't need Him. You see? We see a mountain, and y'all know it. Y'all may be looking at one right now. I told Lindsay a long time ago, we was talking about valleys and mountains. Somebody was preaching on it. It was just constantly, it seemed like it was always like a conversation, like people were using it all the time. And she's like, I think she said it, or maybe even I said it. I said, man, I'm so tired of being in the valley. And then we, anyways, kind of came back to it. And then she said it. Well, when she said it, I heard it. I wasn't saying it. Right? So then I was like, that guy, that deal came up. My baby ain't sitting up. Put my baby in no valley. Put my baby in a corner. Dirty dancing. But I told her, I said, baby, we just need to go and set up a little tiny house down here, because our expectation is we're supposed to be on top. Like we're always, life is not. That's just not the way life is, and that's okay. We look at a mountain in life and so forth, but the God we serve looks at that like a Tuesday. You know what I'm saying? I mean, He's the creator of these things. So we look at it as an obstacle. We look at life as like, man, I hope 2020, I hear this all the time, right? And I've said it as well. Man, I hope this year's better than last year. That's that mountain that we look at that looks so daunting. And how am I going to get through this? How am I going to get through this divorce? I'm not going to see my kids all the time. How are we going to figure out the finances? I got to pay child support. Or, how am I going to keep from going back to addiction? How am I going to keep from being depressed? How am I going to keep from being addicted to drugs or porn or alcohol? Or, how am I going to, keep going to therapy with my wife and not lose my stuff? Whatever that is. And these mountains, I believe, that we look at, and these obstacles we look at, we're looking at them from the wrong lens, because I believe in my own personal life, we look at it as a mountain and God looks at it as an opportunity. If you think about Job, which I never want to go through what Job went through if you read the book of Job, but that was an opportunity to showcase God through somebody. And the Bible's full of that. Samson miserably failed, right? David triumphed, and he failed. And he triumphed, and he failed. Right? And it's that roller coaster that we have to accept, guys, that sometimes we may have a bad year. But like I've said before, if you think about stuff in a smaller scale, because the God we serve is much greater, instead of having a bad day, we'll have a bad moment. Instead of having a bad year, we'll have maybe a bad season. But as we start breaking this stuff down, when you start minimizing your obstacles, your goals are easier to attain, right? If a guy says, I want to lose weight, he says, I need to lose some weight. Okay. How much weight you want to lose? 20 pounds. I've talked to people. You've talked to people. Cool. And they said, I'm going to lose it by, 2 weeks. I'm like, yep. Your want's greater than your reality. When it's easier to say, I'm going to lose 5 pounds this week. Now, if I had a goal of 5 pounds to lose this week, I possibly could lose 20 pounds in 30 days. Does that make sense? Well, how do I do that? Honestly, if a man was trying to do that, I could say quit eating bread. Quit drinking Diet Cokes. Take those 2 things out if you do those daily. And I bet money you'll probably lose 20 pounds in that period if you're not already pretty slim, low body fat, right? Still have to commit to do it, right? When we serve God, we want to be this incredible person, because right now I may not be the man I want to be, but I know my worth's greater. I have to understand that it's small goals and it's small wins, it's small victories that's going to get me to that finish line. But I also have to understand, just as Peter walked on water, that the Jesus is standing on the water at 10 feet from the side of that boat. As Peter starts walking, Jesus may step back a little bit. And he may stay back again. Because what he would want, figuratively speaking, is he would want Peter to learn how to walk even farther than that. Because it's a growth process, the same as you taught your kid how to swim, and you were maybe taught how to swim, unless you were like True Grit with John Wayne, where he gets that kid and just throws him in the water. I don't know if y'all a little old school there. It's raised on that, right? Yeah, Carl's like, that was me, man. Right? But you see what I'm saying? Right? So when we look at this year, and maybe you have a son or a daughter, or maybe in your own personal relationship, maybe with your own walk with God. The reason why a lot of people have these New Year's resolutions and they never work is because they put out this crazy big goal in the beginning that's unattainable, because the timeline that they want to achieve it in is not realistic, right? But if I wanted to learn more to read about the Bible, if I want to learn, I don't want to say, well, I'm going to read the New Testament this month. I'm like, well, then you're just, like we call it retail, you're pencil whipping. You're just going to speak. You ain't going to know anything you read when you got done, right? But if a man said, hey, I'm going to read the Gospels. All right, let's do that first. That's pretty easy, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, right? I don't know how to read the Bible. So you don't know how to read? Because, I mean, there's like 1,000 different versions now. A lot of them aren't probably the ones you need to read. But between YouTube and podcasts, and you don't have to have, well, if long and whole, I had a class for 43-year-old men that have kids that are, 21, 19, and 18, and a wife that's a therapist, and for 6 guys over 6 foot, I'd be a part of a group. You're like, you know what I'm saying? But we think that way sometimes, right? The situation is, there's always a reason why not to do something, but there's more of a greater reason why to do something, right? And as we look through this coming year, like I've been able, because of a lot of trial and error and a lot of failure, I've been able to tell myself I'm going to do X, and I'm pretty hardcore about being able to execute whatever that is, you see. Because I know that it's a manageable system that we've got to do. When you think about faith, and that's what we're talking about this morning with Abraham, you think about how long of a process and a journey that Abraham went through from the moment that he was given direction to the end result. It wasn't instant gratification, right? It wasn't like, all right, you've been delivered. You're there. It was a long process. Israelites coming out of Egypt, like, they literally were rescuing them from Pharaoh, and like this was going to be a little fast process. But by their lack of faith and their denial and all this stuff, it prolonged their deal massively, right? And he did miraculous things, from the plagues to parting the water to all this many things. But they were so blinded by their surroundings. They had been around somewhere where they had very low self-worth, that they didn't see the capabilities of what God had for them, because their surroundings dictated what their self-worth was. Their self-worth is low, and therefore we can't achieve what we want to. If you're a believer, guys, regardless of what anybody else says about you, if they say Ryan is the sorriest human being that I know, that's been said. And I may deserve that, right? Because could have been a very mean, very aggressive. At Christmas, I'll share this with you real quick. I don't want to share too much of it. But at Christmas, my kids, I think the girls picked up on it more than maybe Carter did. But my girls, afterwards, we were sitting there talking, me and the kids, we had already had left, my family, whatever. And my kids had told me, Dad, separately, Dad, I thought you was fixing to blow the place up. Something triggered me. Somebody said something, it was offensive, it was uncalled for, and it was trying to get me. I don't know. And they said, we heard your voice change, and whatever, and they're like, we thought, they're like, we're fixing to walk out of this room right now. And then it was funny, I was like, oh no, it's all good. You know? Y'all know what I'm talking about. Some of y'all may not have had restraint. Y'all may have lit a house up this last holiday, okay? But huh? Yeah. No, this was just like, yeah. And my other daughter said something to me about it. Well, one of them said something about the Fight Club. He don't know anything about it, but he knew that was something that's probably very close to him. And he made some little, just smart jab. And Lindsay was like, she was kind of like in between me and like Stephen right here, and that's, you know, that was said, and Lindsay's right here, and she immediately looked at me and she was like, oh. And anyways, and I knew what it was. I knew what the deal was, right? But it goes back to they didn't see my worth. I was in the wrong place. You know what I'm saying? But I also have spent years to try to convince, right? You can see that in retail. You could have this $1 bottle of water, and I could tell this person, like, you're selling it for $1, man, but you know everybody else is selling it for $4. Oh, I could never get $4 out of that. I could never sell a sofa for that price. That's crazy. Then I'll go to somebody else, and I'm like, how much is your water? Like, $19. You're like, what? And they're like, oh yeah, we wouldn't sell it below that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, right? I was just in an environment that doesn't see my self-worth through Christ. So do you think I'm going to spend more time there or less time there? I'm going to do my godly part, right? But I also have to understand that we have to position ourselves, guys, where God can really just let us flourish and be in environments like this where we don't have to change our conversation around the people that are with us, right? As these younger guys here and in Carter's in college, but like they even have to understand, like, am I a believer? Can I be a godly young person? Can I, be here and praise God? And then I go hang out with some friends and, they're on porn and they're cussing like crazy and they're doing all this stuff that, like, I don't really want to do. Am I going to get persuaded and pressured into being like them? And that's a hard battle, and we have to understand that. And we got to talk through those things, right? But guys, we ain't no different. You go play golf, or you go hang out at the, gun range, and you do whatever. At family times, the guys are all sitting outside, whatever. Like, you got to make a choice there too. Like, yeah, that ain't me, bro. Everybody's understood it with me at this point, right? But we have to make those stands. You make those stands, that way when temptation does come across you, like me, with like addiction or something, I stand up against it every day like it's no big deal, because I don't have a relationship with it anymore, because I don't have any self-worth in that anymore. Now, you may see me from years. I may see you from years. I knew you, man. We've known each other for 20 years. He may have always known me as an alcoholic. But if he knows me now, still a bit of time around me, he'd be like, boy, I don't even know him anymore. Praise God, right? And that's the wonderful thing about the God we serve, is he develops us, and when we cross that mountain and we overcome that obstacle, that's the whole point of that mountain being there in the first place, because he's going to develop us. He's going to show us. With Abraham, he started here. He says, start with faith and trust God's plan. He says, go from your country. He's telling, this is to Abraham, your people and your father's household to the land I will show you. I will make you into a great nation. I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. Here's what's crazy, and we skip over this because we always like the happy ending, right? Like, and you will be a blessing. Well, that's the end result, right? You're going to go to heaven. Well, man, this world is tough, man. It's like, yeah, heaven's where all that stuff's not. Then we're still in the world. We're his disciples here on this world. Like, that's the end result. So this world's going, man, it's bad. It's going, yeah, I know. And I'm sure the people in the 1980s said that. The 1960s said that. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay. We were never told that this was a great deal. I couldn't imagine back in the day when there was actual nukes happening. Like, that was actually real and not talked about. You know what I'm saying? Like, the Great Depression. I mean, I'm not a historian, but I could probably think of some, being non-educated, of a lot of things where if I lived that time frame, I'd be like, Jesus is coming today. I get all that, right? I get all that. But in that defense, in that thing, the end result is like, you're going to be a blessing. When you start in this beginning, what I skipped over and I wanted us to kind of think about it, he says, go from your country, your people, and your father's household to the land I showed you. He's telling him, come to me, I'm your father. Let go of the things that you've known if they're not aligned with me. Step out and step to me. Does that make sense? It's okay because you're no longer in the family, physical family, You're in an eternal family. You're in my family. So he immediately says, you know what, Marvin? Go from your country, your people, your father's household to the land I will show you. Right? So when you think about now, it's like, all right, where's our destination? God's asking us to step out in faith and say, just let me show you. Literally, let me show you. Because I'm going to make you into a great nation. I'm going to make you into something incredible. He tells Cody, says, Cody, if you will step out in faith, give me this. I'm telling you, I'm going to make you a person that you never thought you could be. I've already got it planned. I've already got it all set up for you over here. Like the place that you don't think you can reach, I've already got it. The fire is going. I just need you to follow me to get there. And as we go through this year, whatever that is, and if we're good, somebody says, well, man, I'm pretty good right now. I mean, I would say I'm pretty good right now, right? Then my objective would be find somebody that's not. Because I would need to be making disciples. I'm in a stage of mentoring and multiplying, you see. I can't just sit up, put my feet up on the table and be like, things are great. Okay. It's kind of selfish, but okay. It's definitely not what our God does or tells us to do. So we roll into that. He says, overcome challenges with faith. Against all hope, Abraham in hope believed and so became the father of many nations, just as he had been said to him. Against all hope, Abraham in hope believed and so became the father of many nations. He had a plan for Abraham, and if you read about the Bible, most all these people that God used, he didn't, like they were just people. They were y'all, they were me. That's what I love about the disciples. Because I think he just got, he got an accountant, he got fishermen. Like he didn't go to the temple and get all the guys that were already like living a clean life, or that had already sold their life for God and, never been married and never done all these many things that were already holy, right? Because God can't do something if somebody already thinks they got it figured out and they're already good. God loves that transformation, I think. Like he loves to see, his witness, to make people believe in faith is so when you see me, the only way you could say that this guy could have changed was that. Because you're like, man, I'm telling you, man, I've known that dude since he was 10. Right? And you're like, how did he do it? Or like the only reasonable thing, even an unbeliever would have to give God some credit on that. Right? That is our testimony. Who uses Abraham? He comes through that, and he's got to be willing to sacrifice too, because he says, now I know that you fear God because you have not withheld from me your son, your only son. That's when, in Genesis 22:12, when he took Isaac and he went up and was going to end up sacrificing him. And then God told him to stop there at the end. Like that's how much of a commitment Abraham was to God. Was like, no, I want you to have everything. And you've seen that too in the Bible, many different stories where these people were like, gave God his share or whatever, and then God turned around and blessed them 10 times over, right? Right now, with a new job, like me personally, I could be in a situation, I talked to Carter about it a week or something ago, but like, it's not the same functioning income that I'm used to being on, so I could 100% be in a state of anxiety, stress, and freaking out, because I've been there, like a lot in the past, right? Or could be in a season of not worrying about that and saying, I know that my God, he gives us what we need, and all that stuff, right, in the scriptures. And I'm telling you this too, if you're in that stage too, is that God doesn't want us to think about that because he's like, just wait. Like, I got you. But I need you to get to this. I need you to get through this year. I need you to get through this month. I need you to get to this next level. I need you to get to the next level. Because what I have for you, Will, is going to blow your mind. Has God ever blown your mind? Have you ever seen something you're like, what? It's happened to me. I mean, I've had stuff happen. I'm like, whoa. What? Are you kidding me right now? And it's always been where I was the most surrendering and most like close to God. And I wasn't asking for that. Because in my anxiety and my stress and everything, I'm like, God, please make me make more money. Or something. God's like, I don't talk in money, bro. You know, I mean, but when I was like, God, you know, I love you, and I was loving on other people, and I was pouring in other people's lives, and I was loving my spouse and my kid, when I was doing like much, that's when like this crazy blessing would happen. But he wanted to see me persevere. He wanted to see me come over obstacles. He wants you to come over obstacles. Because what he has for us is mind-blowing. And it's maybe something small, maybe something massive. And you say, well, I just don't know. Like, yeah, that's the point. Because he wants it to happen, and he wants you to go, he wants you to scratch your head and go, oh, that was you. I see you. That's awesome, right? And it happens. I'm telling you, it absolutely happens. The people you've been praying for, don't give up on them. Keep praying for them. Right? The stress that you've been going through, don't give up. No. Just pray more. But pray from a heart that God, pray from the words and the heart that God hears from. From no selfishness, no strings attached. Don't negotiate, because he don't negotiate. Right? And think in a bigger picture. I hope this year is better than last year. Well, that would depend on me, not on him. Right? Have I changed? Do I ever think about somebody that's going to go to hell that's within my reach that I could possibly get to? Have I made those attempts? Has God been calling on your heart to do something and we've not done it? Do you need to get saved? Have you truly saved? Like right now, if today was your last moment, your last day, your last second, do you 100% know that you would go to heaven? It's a serious conversation. Not with me, because you can lie to me. I lied for a long time about it. I don't have to anymore. You know, do I need to be baptized? Is that a thing I need to do? Is that something that God's been telling me? I'm just like, I can get baptized. That's for kids or something. I don't know, whatever you would do, right? I don't want to get in that water. Maybe God's like, you know what? That's fine. That's fine. 2025 is not changing for you. Or this is not going to happen. I mean, that's the way my mind thinks. I'm not saying that's my perspective. Because God's like, if you can't get in there and show your obedience by showing the death, burial, and resurrection that you're a new creation, but you're expecting me to do all these things, but you won't show me, you won't physically show that you've done this, you know? I don't know. I look at stuff different from what you may look at it. But Abraham was willing to give his son. And he said, no. Actually, I'm going to give my son. I'm going to give the ultimate sacrifice. And it says, leave a legacy of faith. He says, I'm going to make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky, and will give them all these lands. And through your offspring, all the nations of the earth will be blessed. I'm going to make them numerous in the sky. I want to erase. I want to wipe out. I want to remove every hardship I've ever been through. Would anybody like to do that? Like, wouldn't it be incredible to not only remove it from your physical life, but also from your mental state? Like all hardship. I would love to remove that. I'd love to remove the really bad. And y'all heard Sandy and Kenny's testimony 2 weeks ago. It was like, holy cow. And y'all, I've heard a lot of y'all's, you know, and stuff, right? And I would love to take away that, right? That would be incredible. But I can't. What can I do? I can prevent it being repeated. I can stop these generational cycles. It's not going to be easy. Because, see, the world knows us who we are and have known us for who we are for a long time. But I want to wipe it away so it doesn't continue to repeat itself. Right? I went through, and I've had this conversation with my kids, I've went through this hard stuff so you don't have to. You know, men, I worked hard so you don't have to. You know, we say that, right? I was raised poor, and I was raised in Charlie Park till I was 12. You know, I thought it was pretty awesome back then, to be honest with you, because we had like the biggest trailer. Just saying, it was a double wide. But like when you look down that gravel road, ours was, I don't know. And my dad may have when they dropped it, he may have got him to drop it out this way. But like when you look down there, ours stood out like, another 10 yards, plus you had the tongue that we put some flowers in. I mean, I remember as a kid to dress up the, I don't know, whatever. But it stuck out, and I don't know if ours is bigger, or he may just wanted everybody to have that idea it was bigger and just moved it out farther. I don't know, right? But I worked hard, right? Because I don't want my kids to live at maybe that level of whatever, right? But the same mindset where y'all guys work super hard, you're working these hard shifts, or you have worked those hard shifts, because you don't want your kids to do that. You think about the same way, like the stuff that you went through and so forth. You don't want that pattern to be repeated in that capacity, right? And that's our drive. And if you love the Lord, if you love God and so forth, if you're a Christian but you never show it, nobody knows it. If your children or your friends or your family or your spouse or your whoever, your whatever, if they don't see evidence of it by what you're doing, well, I go to church every Sunday. Okay. I mean, Satan was in heaven for a while too. I mean, I'm just saying, like, it doesn't give us, okay. You know what I'm saying? First couple times I came here, I told you I was still drunk, really, because from the night before, like, so I told Lindsay that I went to church. She didn't know, she wasn't with me because she didn't know how I came to church, right here, okay. But it's thinking beyond that, and that's my challenge to myself. I say this to myself, I say this to you, like, what can I do? Like, what can I do in my capacity? Not just come up with an idea. I've got to be able to get behind it and help. If it's serving, you can get up with Mike. If you're like, man, I'm not that guy that's gonna get up and talk like you do, Ryan. Okay, cool, don't do that. Charlie, Christmas services, you work 3 services, right, in the parking lot? Charlie did? Mike, somebody? So if you're not that guy, fine. There's 2 guys right there that I bet are constantly asking for help. Then do something where you don't have to get up and speak. That's fine. But maybe you want to. Maybe you want to do grief. Maybe you want to do divorce. Maybe, I don't know. But you could probably figure it out at your table, because there's enough resources in this room to figure it out. Like, what can I do this year that's not self-glorifying, but it's more God-glorifying? How can I showcase what God's done in my life? And Abraham was persistent through that. And it says, let's move forward like Abraham. In Hebrews 11:8, it says, by faith, Abraham obeyed when he was called to go out to a place that he was to receive as an inheritance. And he went out not knowing where he was going. And we step out in faith this year. And I'm really excited. I have a huge, burden. I don't want to say burden. I have a huge vision. I don't know what the word is. That God's going to do something incredible this year. I don't care what's going on with the economy. I don't. I'm just don't. I mean, I do, right? But I mean, it's not going to change who I serve, right? Because what if I didn't do something, nothing happened that you're saying is going to happen, and I didn't do anything because of my fear of whatever we're talking about? You see what I'm saying? So I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to keep doing what I do. But God's challenged me, like, cool, Ryan. And it's my mindset. It's my mindset. God's like, all right, this is what you did in 24. Yeah, okay. Cool. So this is 25, Ryan. Here. This was 24. This is 25. It's blank. What are we going to look at the end of 25, Ryan? I'm like, nah, we don't go backwards, bruh. What are you going to do, Ryan? What are you going to do? And I challenge us to think in that same mindset. Super exciting. I don't know what that is. Let that sink in. It may just be consistent here. It may be something. It may be, I don't know. But I'm telling you, God's got something incredible, the same as he did when he delivered Abraham in the promised land. And so many different things in the Bible, like God has something incredible this year. And I I personally plan to challenge myself this year. I need your help. I need your support, because there's a lot of men out there that need us, and there's a lot of men out there that you could share your life with one-on-one, that you could be the bridge to their salvation. And if you're a bridge to their salvation, you could be a bridge to their family salvation. By you bringing one person to Christ, it's a ripple effect. Because more likely they have family, they have kids, they have in-laws, they have all these many things. You're one person that you could just love on someone. Like somebody loved on you could change a generation of an entire other family. You could affect 20 people. Do the multiplier on that. It's absolutely incredible. It's absolutely incredible. When you think about this year, if I can help with anything, please let me know. But think about it this year. We go into God, we love Him, we excite Him. It's going to be an incredible year. It's going to be an incredible year. Amen. Read you got the Bible reading now? The thing. If you're not doing a group in addition to this, then just do it. Me and Lindsay are going to do it together. So I imagine she's going to make me a lot smarter. I'm pretty sure so. Because she's a lot smarter than me. Right? But get into it. The kids don't know if they're going to read. Right? But they read already, but I'm saying that we're going to do that. Right? So I'm saying think about like what can this year be? It can be whatever you allow God to make it. Not you. And that's super exciting if you think about it. Amen? All right, guys. Thank y'all. We're going to do a breakout on your things and pray out of your tables.